Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster 3. And what do you know? Finally, it's time for another top 5 of the month for the month of November. So these are the 5 best films that I've watched during this month. So yeah, let's begin right away. First up at number 5, we have a film from 2019 directed by Jason Howden, who is probably most famous for directing Deathgasm, which is one of my favorite horror films from the last like decade or so. Um, and this is his film called Guns Akimbo with Daniel Radcliffe, which I really appreciated and I really like this film. I mean, it's basically about Daniel Radcliffe getting like elected to this, not elected, but he gets like randomly chosen to take part in this like real life game or like a survival game, like to the fight to the death basically. And that's basically like without his will because he's just visiting this website and he gets like just picked to do this by all these like gangsters and whatnot. So it's basically about him trying to survive this whole battle and try to fight back against these criminals basically. So really entertaining film and I loved his performance in this. So yeah, Guns Akimbo at number 5. At number 4 we have a film which I would say this is probably one of the best films by Cirio Santiago. For those of you who are familiar with his name, he is most famous for making low budget action films in the 80s and 90s. I think he was from the Philippines, I believe, so he made a whole lot of really entertaining ones. But this one is definitely one of his best ones. I think this might be some weird co-production between the Philippines and the U.S. I'm not too sure, but it just has that feeling to it. And the best way I describe this film is basically imagine if I Spit on Your Grave was made in the 80s, this would be the result. But enough about that. The film is called Naked Vengeance, which I also thought had a pretty neat soundtrack to it. And yeah, I really appreciated the lead female actress in this one. I think she did an amazing job of portraying this victim who then goes on a killing rampage, basically. Yeah, really 80s, and I really like this. I mean, it's kind of an 80s film. It really screams 80s, and yeah, Naked Vengeance at number 4. So yeah, and number 3 is a film that really surprised me. I did not expect to like this film as much as I did because I think it generally gets a whole lot of shit and a whole lot of bad reviews. Or at least for those of you who have seen this film, because this seems to be a rather obscure film as well. So, but the film is called Body Shot from 1994 with Robert Patrick, and yeah, I really appreciate his performance in this one. This is more of a thriller film, like mystery thriller, like you don't really know what's going on, and there's a whole lot of twists and turns from time to time. Some of the twists doesn't make too much sense. But I just think the whole atmosphere in the film is really great, and the performances, I mean, they are really top notch. And I do not understand why this film has such a low rating on IMDb. Um, yeah, I really appreciated this thriller film. So yeah, Body Shot at number 3. And at number 2, we have a Japanese film called Tojimaro Avenging Blade. And just like with Body Shot, this is another film that has a very low rating on IMDb. Maybe it's another one that is just too obscure to have a higher rating. I'm not really sure, but um, I like a samurai type film. It starts off a little bit silly, and then it gets more and more serious like the longer into the film you get. So at first, it just feels like a really strange and weird comedy film. But the last half is just like full blown drama and action, and I really appreciated all the fighting sequences. Some of the things aren't really that realistic, and when it comes to some of these Japanese samurai films in general, I mean, realism doesn't really. I mean, that doesn't really bother me too much when it lacks realism. So, but yeah, I really appreciate this film and the action sequences and the cinematography as well. So yeah, Tojimaro Avenging Blade at number 2. And at number 1, we have a film which I'm kind of ashamed of myself that I had not watched this before. This is a film by John Carpenter, and it's from the 80s, and the film is called Big Trouble in Little China from 1986. This one has such a great. It seems like I'm repeating myself over and over again, but it has that 80s feel to it. And Kurt Russell as this slob of a truck driver is really entertaining to watch, and he gets like drawn into this whole weird, crazy fantasy adventure type thing. And I really appreciated James Hong's character as well. James Hong is sort of like a funny little actor for me because he usually, when he appears in films, I think he's very funny and really hilarious. Um, But yeah, and I would say for 1986, some of the special effects in this is just absolutely top notch and really great. I mean, I think that's probably where most of the budget went, because it looks really amazing for a film made in 1986 in general. So, but I'm not saying the effects are the main thing about the film. The main thing about the film is the storyline and the over the top characters and the likable characters. That's really what's driving this film forward. That I really appreciated. So yeah, Big Trouble in Little China at number one. So yeah, and yeah, there you have it. That's the top five of the month for the month of November. Next video is probably going to be a maybe like a top 10 list or a review or an update video. I haven't made an update video in like 1 or 2 months, I believe. I'm not really sure, but yeah, we'll see how that goes anyway. So yeah, keep your eyes open for the next video, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.